Hello Eagles Nation, Vincent Foust here, and welcome to the pre-big game Eagles Chat. We're here at Eagles Chat, we get down right to the news you want to hear on your birds. But before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe to the Eagles Chat YouTube channel, as well as following us on Instagram at Chat Eagles, where you can find daily updates on your birds. You can also find our Instagram in the description of this video. But now let's get right into it, and yes, the Eagles are getting ready for the big game, and it happens to be less than 48 hours away from when this Eagles Chat is being recorded. Let's hope the Birds can finally put an end to those little Swifties and their movie that they've been having for the past few seasons. We'll just have to see what the boys in the green and black can do come Sunday. But now let's get into this Eagles Chat even more, and we're going to first start off with the injury update. So there's been a lot of news coming out, especially looking at the health of the Birds, and we're first going to start off with Jalen Carter. So yes, he has had an illness for the majority of this week, and he even wasn't able to make it to see the media yesterday. We spoke to a couple guys down on Radio Row, spoke to a couple people from Fox 29 Philadelphia. They said they could not get a hold of Jalen Carter as he was not available yesterday because of his illness. Now, good news. Jalen Carter listed is now back on full participation in practice on the Eagles' current injury report. You can see that on our Instagram page. We posted it on our story. Again, the link in the description. He is now on full participation. So that is extremely good news, especially as I think the Eagles will need Jalen Carter for this game. I don't know. Something's just telling me that. But yeah, good news. Jalen Carter is listed back on full participation. Another one we have here is Brandon Graham. Now, a lot of news is coming out that he will be ready to go for the big game come Sunday. Now, there are still some little news, stories squeaking out saying that he could possibly be questionable. Now, you have to remember, the media is starting to run out of things to report on, so things start to sneak out here and there. But again, Brandon Graham was listed on full participation in today's injury report by the Eagles, so that is another great thing to see, especially as this is the Eagles' last practice before the big game. So it's their last practice for this season, in other words. So definitely great news to see Brandon Graham on the full participation. Another one that we are currently watching is Devontae Smith. He is still on limited participation in practice as he's still dealing with something with his hamstring, but he should also be ready to go for the big game. If anything else says otherwise, make sure to follow us on Instagram. We'll have all updates for you there, especially pertaining to the big game coming up on Sunday. That I can definitely tell you. But now, let's get into this Eagles Chat even more. We're going to first start off with the defense. So how this is going to work is, since this is the pre-big game Eagles Chat, we're basically going to be showing expectations and guys that you really have to watch on the Chiefs coming up to the big game and following up to the big game. So with that first, starting with defense, here's my first big-time look for the Eagles, and that is pressure, and that's the only thing I have on this slide, and I'm about to say why. The Eagles 100% need pressure, and your secondary has been doing absolutely incredible this year, but the main thing that's going to make a difference for the Birds in this game is going to be that front line, as you need to get pressure on Mahomes. You cannot let him stay back there, sit back there in the pocket, and pick apart your defense. Your secondary can only cover guys for so long, especially having guys like Travis Kelce. They can only stick on these guys so long, and for some reason, Travis Kelce has something magic about him where he automatically, as big as he is, somehow becomes wide open every single dang play. So, yeah, you're going to have to get good pressure on Mahomes. You cannot let him just sit back there and pick your defense apart. The Eagles have had some experience with that. I'm going to go back 2 years. I don't want to go into negative territory, but that's exactly what happened to the Birds in Super Bowl 57, is they kind of just let Mahomes do what he needed to do in the pocket, and he ended up picking apart Jonathan Gannon's defense for the Birds in that Super Bowl 57, where Mahomes, again, remember, he was playing on one leg that year as well, as he was injured during that game. He came back in and just absolutely obliterated the Eagles secondary. So this is something that they need to 100% focus on. Vic Fangio has been doing an incredible job. Clint Hurt, the defensive line coach, has been doing an incredible job with improving these guys. They just need to make sure that they get to them. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, you got you guys on the edges, Josh Sweat. They need to hold their positions, and you're going up against guys who have been having incredible seasons. Let's look at the Chiefs' offensive line. I mean, you have guys like Joe Thuney at left tackle, who's had an incredible year. Their center, Creed Humphrey, who's had an absolutely incredible year as well, and their right guard, Trey Smith. These are guys that I'm highlighting that have been absolutely incredible, and guys that they're really going to have to figure out, as they've been doing an incredible job with protecting Patrick Mahomes. And the thing with the Chiefs is, their defense has been doing a good job. Every time their offense comes on the field, they get on and they get off quickly. They haven't been really keeping the ball in Mahomes' hands for that long. The Chiefs offense gets on the field, they do their job, they get off the field. But if there's something that you notice, every time the Chiefs offense is usually on the field, they're not a high-scoring team. Remember, they only had one game this season that was over 30 points. And yeah, guess which game that was? Last game, where they scored 32 points against the Buffalo Bills. So this is going to be a game where, I mean, you have to get on him. You can't let him sit back there because the Chiefs will find ways to get points at the end of their drives. I know it's not touchdowns all the time, and I know they're not blowing teams out necessarily all the time, as a lot of their games are usually won by 2 points. Some are won by 7 points. They're usually just one-score wins. So the Chiefs, they don't blow people out, but they find ways to get to victory. And usually that happens to be in the final seconds of the game with some guys that have stripes on. But I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm going to stay professional. I'm going to try to stay professional, even though I could rant about that forever on the refs. But to really look at things here on a football perspective, try to stay on point here. That's definitely something they're going to have to crack down on, especially with the Chiefs, that they have not been turning the ball over as much. They turned it over finally last week against the Bills with that muffed snap that they had. Patrick Mahomes couldn't quite handle it. That was that turnover right there. They didn't really have any turnovers since week 11. So the Chiefs really improved on their turnovers in the second half of the season. It's a team that really doesn't do that much at all. Again, they haven't really turned the ball over since week 11. Yes, they did it, last week for the first time in a while, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, for the first time in a while against the Bills, but they haven't been doing it as of much. So these guys, this defensive line, you got guys like Nolan Smith, Zach Bond going to your linebackers. He's been incredible. If those guys are the ones that get to Patrick Mahomes and put pressure on him, so be it. They've been doing good filling the gaps and stacking the box when necessary as well. So these are the guys that you're going to need to look for to put good pressure on him, to not let him just sit back there and pick apart your defense. That's going to be the number one thing, in my opinion, that this Eagles defense has to focus on, especially since your secondary, you have Quinyon Mitchell, who has not allowed more than 2 catches in the playoffs, period. That's your secondary, but you need to help out your secondary. Remember, these guys can only cover them for so long. Your defensive line needs to put some pressure on, and it needs to get to Patrick Mahomes, no question about it. But now let's move on to Jalen Hurts' play. So we're going to start to kind of, finagle our way into the offense here slowly but surely. And we're first going to start off with the QB situation for the Birds. What do I think Jalen Hurts needs to do in order to get a good, solid victory over the Kansas City Chiefs in the big game? And number one thing is going to be show up when necessary. And I know that may sound kind of strange at first, not really specific, but that's what I need. I'm not expecting Jalen Hurts to throw over 300 or so yards. You don't need him to throw over 300 or so yards, but you need to have a passing game. You cannot win this game just on the ground. Again, I understand the Eagles' offense is mostly surrounded around the run game, and don't get me wrong, that's exactly how they have it designed. That's exactly how Kellen Moore has put this offense together. Don't get me wrong, but again, you need to have some appearances of the pass game, whether they're slants that happen, whether they're cross routes, whether they're curls, whether they're the QB screen. You get the regular screens, the bubble screens, whatever it may be. You need to have your pass game show up, whether it's a long ball here and there, or I'd rather be a short pass to help get your QB, get Hurts into a rhythm somehow. That's something that I definitely would like to see. And I'm confident that Hurts, when necessary, can make the throw. He's been a lot smarter. He hasn't been going down with the ship as much. There's sometimes that he holds onto the ball too long, and I get mad that he doesn't step up in the pocket. Instead, he sometimes kind of scrambles. But he has been a lot smarter than definitely last season and at the beginning of this season with being able to get rid of the ball when necessary. He throws the ball away a lot more and is able to, in my opinion, does a lot better of a job in the backfield than he did at the beginning of this season. So hopefully, they're able to use the pass game when necessary, and they're able to get short passes off. You need to have a pass game. You can't just go into a game and expect Barkley to do everything. I know he's been doing the majority of things lately, right, in terms of the extremely long runs that he's had, the touchdowns that he's had. I get it, but you need to have the pass game show up. You need to have Hurts QB this team to a victory and show up when necessary, especially as the Chiefs eventually will probably be like, hey, let's stack the box up. And when I say eventually, I don't even know why I said that. They will probably go to that immediately as soon as they see what the Eagles are going to start out with. And main thing is, you need to get into a rhythm. And I'm confident that Hurts, the way he's coming into this game, and how last Super Bowl went and how he's coming into this game, I'm pretty sure that Hurts is going to be relaxed and ready to go. But now, let's move on to the rest of the offense. So I have two things up on this slide. My first one is going to be consistency. That's something the Eagles have been doing a heck of a lot better of as of recent. The play calls have been questionable in some areas, but they've been able to move the ball down the field, and they've been a lot better on capitalizing. That's another thing that's been just basically incredible, where if they get a turnover, they capitalize on that turnover. Before, they used to get a turnover, and then you wouldn't really see nothing much after that. The red zone play has been a lot better as well, but the consistency, whether you get yourself in a rhythm, like I was saying in the past slide with the Jalen Hurts' play slide, I was saying you need to get this offense into a rhythm, whether it's short passes, then you use the run game, you use Barkley, then you use the pass game again. You need to have this offense in constant motion. I know the Eagles, sometimes they do a no huddle, but you need to have this offense ready to go to surprise this Kansas City defense, because don't get me wrong, Andy Reid, he's had 2 weeks to prepare this with his coordinators, and I mean, this is definitely going to be something where they know what's coming. They know that you have a running back that's had over 2,000 yards in the regular season and has been absolutely torching teams in the past 3 games, especially against Green Bay, LA, and Washington. So I think Kansas City knows what's coming, and you just have to find ways to stay consistent in terms of your rhythm and to move the ball down the field. And at the end of the day, you have to come up with points at the end of your drives. You cannot come up with nothing. You can't do these 3 and outs. You have to go down. You have to get the job done somehow, whether it's a field goal, a touchdown, I don't care. I'd rather it be a touchdown, but you need to come up with something at the end of these drives. You need to keep your momentum going. You cannot just go out there on the field and die and then come off and expect your defense to hold it for you the entire game. Your defense is good, but let's try to help them out, shall we? But our next one we have here is adjusting, and this is something that the Eagles offense has also been doing better of as of recent, especially in the playoffs, where they get a group of plays that don't necessarily work too well and they get stopped in the backfield. I saw that a couple times with the run game. And next thing you know, they move in different motion. They're able to get different gaps ready in the offensive line, especially with Jordan Mailata doing his job. You have Dickerson, who's ready to play in this game, which is definitely good to see. Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, there were some issues going with them in terms of injury, but they're 100% going to be playing in the game. So to see these guys get the right gaps for you, adjusting is definitely something that the Eagles have been doing a heck of a lot better of, and something that I'll really be looking for as Sunday comes around the corner. That's going to be something I'm looking for. We'll see what Kellen Moore can get rocking and rolling for this matchup come Sunday. This big-time matchup, I should say. But now, let's move on to our final slide, and that is, yes, right here, Jake Elliott. So, I know a lot of people have been worried with him as of late, where his kicks have been off. There was a time in the playoffs where he was 2 for 5 on extra point attempts. So, has he improved? Well, he had a better game last game, but I do think, if necessary, especially if it comes down to a clutch field goal, I don't know why, but I have a feeling that Jake Elliott will be able to get the job done. You can call me crazy, especially the way he's been playing as of recent, but I just have a feeling that Jake Elliott is going to be ready to go this game. Now, a lot of people can be like, oh, you're just saying that because you're a homer, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, I am a homer. But again, I really see and I feel that Jake Elliott is really going to step it up this game, and is going to be something where you may see something that a lot of people, we haven't been really seeing out of him as of late, but I think he will be able to get it done in clutch situation. As again, he needs to get it done in clutch situations, because every single point matters, especially in a game like this where, again, you look back at it again, the Chiefs have been winning a lot of their games this year by 2 points. And shall I use an example? Okay, 2 weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills, how many points did they win? How many points did, let's just say they won that game by? Yeah, there's my exact example. It wasn't by a lot. It was by a couple. So we'll just have to see what Jake Elliott can do. But again, I'm confident that we'll be able to see Big Four come out in a huge, big-time way. So we'll see what happens. And hopefully the Birds will be able to get their second ring in franchise history, their second Super Bowl in franchise history. And hopefully behind me, I will have a second banner hanging in the, let's just say, in the next couple of weeks. That would definitely be a great present for me to have not just this banner, but another one right next to it that says Super Bowl 59. That would definitely be a great present for me. And I know it would also be a great present for the rest of the fan base and the rest of the Delaware Valley. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully the green and black can get it done down there in New Orleans to bring home the second ring back home to Philadelphia. That's all for me. And as always, go Birds! Have a good weekend, everybody. And I'll be back here for a Eagles chat on Monday to hopefully cover a Eagles victory. Have a good one, folks.